Hi, I'm Davina Shamaya, and I am a trauma coach for highly sensitive people recovering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder and narcissistic abuse. And I am also recovering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder and narcissistic abuse. And today I want to share with you um, a topic on, it's called, hopefully I say it right, infantalization. And I feel like this is something that is so important, so key, and yet it's not really, it doesn't seem to be a popular topic, something I only found a few articles, a few YouTube videos on. But basically, narcissistic parents do not want their child to grow up and become independent. They treat their child, even adult children, younger than what they actually are, to keep them in that kind of infantile or, childlike kind of state. And yeah, this is due to their own need to feel superior and, of course, to try to maintain control of that child, because of course narcissistic parents, their child is just an extension of them, and so they feel like they kind of like own that child, like that child doesn't have the right to have their own individualism and autonomy and unique thoughts, feelings, ideas, opinions, values. They just want their child to, like, you should be like this, you should be exactly like me, kind of thing. So narcissistic parents really fear their child becoming an adult and therefore an equal. And I am just going to plug in my computer. Hang on one second. So, they do not want you to be an equal, and they want to be able to look down on you, even once you become an adult. And they will, in a way, kind of attempt to kind of stop time so that you're sort of, in their eyes, you're this little girl or little boy, that you once were, maybe. Yeah, I particularly think my dad did this a lot. Yeah, so, like, I always got this feeling, like, even in my 30s and 40s, like, Dad, why are you talking to me like that? You're talking to me like I'm 19 or 20. Like, it seemed like to him, I had just sort of frozen in that kind of, in that, at that age. And he always treated me like that. Like, he was still like giving me advice and just strange things that he would say. One time we went to the zoo. This is one of the strangest ones. And we were all getting tickets. And I was like 45 or something. I don't know, 40, something like that. And he said, "Oh, Donna should get a child's ticket." It was very bizarre. And that's when I really started kind of waking up out of it. Like, whoa, like, wait a minute. Like, you really thought like I was a child. And then I started thinking, wait a minute, this is not me. That's when I started to, like, untwist it a bit and realize, okay, my dad is a bit like messed up or something. He seems to be. And then I started to learn what projection was and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, this is really, really damaging stuff, especially for highly sensitive people. And it's usually done to the highly sensitive person in the family, who becomes, of course, the scapegoat. And it's the scapegoat that they want to, make sure that they are kept down and oppressed. And one way to do that is through this infantilization kind of process. And it can be so insidious, so subtle, so, like, like they're just poisoning you every day with that little bit of arsenic, put in your tea or whatever, that's what it's like. You don't even realize that this brainwashing is happening, and it is brainwashing. They brainwash you to think that I'm not capable, I'm not competent, I am just childlike and dependent and helpless, and I can't, I don't have any skills to live my life. And they make sure that this is the cycle that, they do things that make you feel like a child and feel incompetent. And then of course you're going back to the parent because now you're dependent on them because you don't have any skills to make decisions on your own or whatever. So yeah, I've just been reflecting on this over the last day. Wow, it's just another layer of denial just shutting off. So I wanted to go over some points here in how that they do this. And when you're a child, one of the ways they do this is they offer you no guidance. They give you no or very few life skills, basic life skills that you need to be an adult in the world. Of course, emotional neglect and lack of support is one of those things, because then you're always turning back to them like, oh, how do I feel? I don't know how I feel. You tell me how I feel, other just basic life skills, like maybe, your parents didn't teach you how to cook, or maybe they didn't teach you anything about money management, or maybe they taught you very, very little about any kind of relationship kind of skills. Maybe they didn't let you learn how to drive. I've heard that's a common one. They do not want you to become independent. They do not want to see you succeeding really in the world. They want you to succeed just a little bit so they look like a good parent, but not too much. They don't want you to really shine. And they sense this subconsciously. Probably your intelligence and your brilliance. Why else would they have any reason to oppress you if you weren't threatening, right? That is usually the main cause of that. So yeah, basic life skills, not taught. I remember, when I graduated from high school, I just was terrified. I just felt like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be an adult. I'm 18. And I started becoming anorexic, or I developed anorexia. And that also like kept myself small. I think that is maybe really tied in with that, in the sense of like, I felt like a child, and, I was making myself small, like a child really, by not eating. And yeah, so I think eating disorders are probably very common with, people with narcissistic parents, and of course, other addiction issues too. So yeah, you probably have very little, as you go out into the world as a young adult, very little to go on, very little guidance, and you had probably no support either. Another thing that they can do, both as a child and even when you're an adult, is disapproval and criticism. And this might be just outright criticisms, just very direct and kind of brutal. Or with my parents, it was sometimes more like, maybe more like a little teasing, or more like, well, I'll show you the right way to do it. Or, but yeah, I can remember like, my sister being criticized about her weight. My dad would tease her about that. And yeah, I'm sure my mother criticized me probably quite a bit, like, and telling me, do it like this, don't do it like that. This is the way you do it. You're doing it wrong. And again, I experienced this with my ex-husband, tons of criticism. And it might be more subtle too, in terms of like kind of just disapproving kind of comments like, oh, you're doing that job. Well, I guess if it makes you happy, like just these little kind of snide, kind of underhanded comments that make you think, what, my job isn't really that important? Maybe you don't really think I'm doing a great job in what I do and in my career. Yeah, so they will, as a child and continuously as an adult, be disapproving of you, being criticizing, being critical of who you are and your choices in life and what you're doing. And so, of course, that's going to lead to self-doubt and like, why, so it's really, really, again, it can be very just insidiously cruel. And one thing that just popped up to me too, which now I've lost, I've lost track of what I was about to say. I'll come back to that. Another thing they can do both when you're a child and as an adult is projecting their unwanted feelings of insecurity and failure onto you. Again, I think both my mother and my father did this. My mother, from what I can see, really didn't like any of her, weaknesses or vulnerabilities or, emotions. Like, no, she didn't want to admit that she was like feeling sad or scared ever. Like, no, I'm fine, So if I showed any kind of like, I'm feeling anxiety, she would like, well, get to the gym. And it wasn't like she was outwardly saying, well, I think you're a wimp and, you just got to toughen up. She didn't ever say it quite like that, but that was the implication, that I just wasn't tough enough, wasn't resilient enough, not strong enough. And so, of course, then I'm getting, that idea in my head that I guess maybe I'm a little bit weak. Am I not like other humans? Am I weaker than most people? I guess that, and that just leads to the feeling of inadequacy and low self-worth. My father did this as well, telling me, oh, well, you can't even stand on your own 2 feet. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I've been pretty independent for the last, 25 years or whatever. And it's really horrible. It's twisted. It's twisted and it's sick what they do. It really is. Another thing they can do is, run into to rescue you. They might do this more so, as an adult. And this falls into the category of kind of interference. They will be interfering and meddling in your life, maybe in big ways, maybe, telling you who you should date and what kind of job or career you should have and, things like that. But it could also be just little things. So, they might like doing things for the adult child that they're perfectly capable of doing by themselves, making decisions for them. I can remember my mother, this was, in my early 20s. And she basically decided for me that I was going to move to Calgary with my brother and sister. And I just went along with it. I mean, I didn't even have like any kind of power in me to like say, no, I don't think I want to do that. Or yes, I do. Like, it was just like, I just did it because that's what my mom was telling me I should do. And I thought, she had been like the authority for me, and that's what we lose our own sense of self-authority because we're dependent on our parents to, be that person who tells us what to do and how to do it. And they might also, give you unsolicited advice or be judging what you do, like telling you, oh, you should do this and you should do that. And my father would used to just like, call me and say, well, have you like renewed your membership at the gym or something? Or what are you doing about that? Like what, just crazy shit, really crazy shit. And I know he didn't talk to like this to my siblings, or at least a lot less. I'm really sure of it. So if you're in the situation where you see like your siblings are doing quite well, my siblings have houses and cars, and I think, oh, like you used to always think, well, what happened to me? It must be me because we all grew up in the same family, right? Seemed like the logical conclusion, but no, the scapegoat is treated very differently, very differently. The narcissistic parent will probably abuse all their children in some way, but no, the scapegoat is definitely infantilized, and kept down, kept small, kept quiet too. They might just completely ignore you. That's another one. I don't know if that fits in this category, but I can remember so many times on family trips where, the conversation would be around my sister and what she's doing and her dogs, and then it would be around my brother and his house renovations or whatever. It was always around like what they were doing with their lives, and was rarely about me. Like, I lived in a foreign country and no one ever asked me like, what's it like in Japan, or what are you teaching, or no one ever asked me that, because they didn't want to know. They didn't want to they didn't want to believe that I was the one that went to a foreign country when and lived there for a long time. Yeah, it's very insidious. I keep saying this, I'm going to say it a lot, but and they might jump in to solve your problems, if you're in a crisis, and you might be in a crisis because you have no life skills, right? So it becomes this cycle, like my mother would, I can remember a few times where I was, again, I had very little. I was working at a job and I didn't like the job. And I remember calling my mom on the phone in the office and crying to her, saying I wanted to leave my job. And then, so she would, it was the reason I was in that situation is because I had no connection with myself, which was because of her. And then of course I cry and ask her for her guidance and her support, which was usually never there. It was usually just, well, do this, like very controlling. There was no actual like support and, oh, you're feeling sad about this. And, not like a respectful adult to adult thing ever. They might even, might have parents that come to visit you and they're like suddenly like cleaning your baseboards or, rearranging your furniture. Oh, you should put this over here, or, telling you how to raise your own children. I've heard that a lot. So yeah, they interfere and meddle in their child's life, their adult child's life. And, you will, probably never have an equal, respectful relationship, never, with a narcissistic sick parent. And so I believe that the only solution is no contact. I strongly believe that. And I think even today, I just feel that even so much stronger, if I had a little thread of doubt, like, well, maybe we can, maybe I could visit them someday. No, never. These people are really twisted, wounded individuals. Yeah. And what are the results on the child, the adult child? Well, number one, you're going to have difficulty making decisions because you have so much self-doubt. You never taught how to make decisions, or how to just even just experience your own consequences of your mistakes. And so, you live in doubt, and should I do this, or maybe I should do that? And decisions are really hard. The adult child will lack their own trust in their own judgment. So yeah, a lack of self-trust, which is so key to life, to being able to just trust and like go forward, and knowing that you're going to make some mistakes, but knowing that you have that confidence. And that's another one, is low self-confidence, which of course comes from that trust. Yeah, just a sense of like, yeah, that you just don't have that, I don't know, that sense of security and trust in yourself that you can go out and do things and make progress and succeed in the world. And an adult child often feels incompetent. This is, I think, one that really underlined a lot of my life, that thinking that I was incompetent, like I was just really lacking as a human being. And I was reviewing my life the other day and going, wow, like looking through, the steps in my life and how far I've come, even with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and went, wow, I am resilient and very intuitive, highly intelligent, really attuned to my higher self, and made choices, and had that. Even when I lost so much of myself, there was something that I still was hanging on to, and I knew, kind of, I made a lot of mistakes, but I still always somehow found myself back on track. Um, yeah. And so this cycle will just lead to the adult child depending on their parent more. So, they get treated like a child, they get treated like, you have to depend on me. And so, the child ends up depending more on their parents, and sometimes financially too. Adult children find themselves, still getting money from their parents at 30 or 40, or even living with their parents. And that's not something to be ashamed of, because, um, again, they've set you up to not thrive. And then what they will do is they will, make fun of you or criticize you, or make demeaning and belittling comments about you having to, or asking them for money, or asking them for, some financial help. So it's cruel. It's really cruel stuff. And the whole thing is really just plain old dehumanizing. You're not able to have any sense of your own individual self, your own autonomy, having your own sense of what feels right for you, and you just, it's just insidious brainwashing. And so I hope that has brought you a bit of an eye opener today. And yeah, I think this is a really important topic, especially for the highly sensitive people out there like you, who were likely the scapegoat of the family. So yeah, don't believe their lies. Really start to untangle those lies that they told you. And remember that the feelings are just feelings; they're not truth. You might have fears, like, but those are just fears. Yeah. So yeah, as always, I am wishing you many, many blessings on this journey of healing and awakening. And I am Davina Shemaya at Boldness Blooming. Thank you so much for watching.